What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. So we're gonna watch this absolutely insane segment from The View where they had Stephen A. Smith on there, and they brought him on to basically punish him. He went a few weeks ago to talk against or talk about the Democrats and go against what they were saying when it came down to the Traitor Six, the seditious six that were basically implying that the military service members should not follow illegal, right? Illegal orders from the president. So they brought him on the show. And look, this is Honey hosting here. She's about to go on here and basically scold him for what he said. So let's not waste any time and get straight into the video.
Have you as a neighbor and at the table.
Thank you so much. Good to see y'all.
So it's been a minute since you were here. Last time you were here, it was 6 weeks into Trump 2.0, his second administration. And you had some really sharp criticisms of Democrats in the election for having sort of lost touch with the issues the voters cared about. How are you feeling now a year into Trump? And what do you make of this discussion around affordability and him saying it seems like it's a scam from Democrats?
Well, that's rhetoric on his part. There's nothing surprising or unpredictable about that. You could see that coming from a mile away because he has to say that right now because it's an issue and a concern for the American people. And he wants to act as if there is no concern because everything he's doing is just so beautiful and so marvelous and what have you. But in the end, the Democrats give the credit where credit is due at this particular moment in time. I think that they've learned from some of their mistakes anyway. When you see what happened in New York with Mamdani, when you see what happens in New Jersey with Cheryl as the governor, when you see what happens with Spanberger in Virginia, clearly there's something that's going on within the Democratic establishment that's saying, let's focus on real issues that are pertinent to the American people. Let's make sure we articulate ourselves appropriately so we don't lose sight of what the message should be. Leading up to the election, they did just that, and I thought they handed him the election as opposed to him actually winning it. Now they're forcing him to play ball and figure out a way to beat them because they're coming and they're gaining some momentum. We'll see what happens from there.
House Oversight Democrats released this trove of really creepy photos from inside Jeffrey Epstein's private island. So I want to ask you, is this the tip of the iceberg? What do you think the Trump administration will actually and ultimately release? And if they have nothing to hide, why did they fight so forcefully against this?
Well, I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious in terms of, you know, the hesitancy in releasing the Epstein files, particularly when it's something you campaigned on. So I think in that regard, fine. But I also believe that there are people that have seen the Epstein files, and if there was something directly incriminating about Trump, it's something that would have been, we would have found out about it before the election because every measure would have been exhausted to make sure he didn't return to the White House. I do believe, however, when you have power brokers in place, what happens is on both sides of the aisle, it could be people in those Epstein files that can be severely incriminated, obviously. And anybody
they protect each other.
Well, they protect each other. And
you don't think Trump is in the files? I mean, he was mentioned over 1,000 times.
I'm not saying he wasn't in the file. It wasn't in the files. I'm saying that if it was something really incriminating against him, I think we would have heard about it by now. I think him and others on both sides of the aisle they have friends that they're trying to protect.
Well, and it could be billionaires and people that
that's what I'm talking about.
their whole
that's what I'm talking
about.
That's what I'm talking about. And let's not.
But wasn't Trump?
Let's not act like that's a surprise.
He says he was a very close friend of his. I mean, he denies that.
Once upon a time, he
was.
did say that. But there's also videos of him calling out Epstein and saying, down the line, beware because there's going to be some dirt you're going to find out about this man.
Yeah, but remember what year he said that?
2015.
That's kind of. You know.
They did reportedly have
She thought it was earlier.
But
I heard it was over some property in Florida, believe it or not. Well, I mean, the excuses for it is what it is. But the point is that Epstein was doing what he was doing for years. So whether it was 2015, 2010, I don't care when it was. If you're that kind of despicable human being, I want to find out about it. I don't give a damn if it was 20 years ago, 40 years ago. If you were that kind of person, we need to know you about
So you want to see the files?
Well, of course I want to see the files.
Me too.
Of course I want to see the files.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's exactly right. I mean, if Donald Trump was in the files, we would have known about it by now. There would have been no reason for them to charge him with Stormy Daniels, paying off Stormy Daniels and mortgage fraud with Letitia James and Fani Willis over there in Georgia. There would have been no reason to charge him for that. No reason. Because, I mean, messing with children with Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, that's as bad as it gets. That is a slam dunk case if there's evidence of him doing anything with Jeffrey Epstein, right? So, yeah, Stephen A. is absolutely correct.
Trump is claiming that he aced the cognitive test even though he's going on late night Truth Social tirades, in the middle of the night, he's texting and calling Governor Walz a name that we don't use anymore to disability. He's attacking female reporters as piggy and ugly. He's falling asleep in the middle of a meeting. I mean, I said yesterday that Marco Rubio is boring, but not that boring that he would fall asleep. So what do you think's going on with him?
Trump is being Trump.
Really? There's nothing cognitively wrong there?
Well, I'm not saying whether there is or isn't. What I'm saying is 77 million people don't care. They voted for him. And those same 77 million people
Is it still that number?
They would do it. Well, you could say that it is or isn't, but the point is he's the president of the United States. Despite the onslaught of stuff that was coming his way, he knocked off folks, and the Democrats let him because they weren't on their game. Now you have to look at, because obviously he's not going to circumvent the 22nd Amendment, which will enable him to run for a third term. So now you're talking about J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is considered the adult in the room, the Secretary of State, National Defense, the National Security Advisor. You got J.D. Vance, he's the vice president, but he seems more Trump-ish in terms of how he conducts himself and how he's willing to go after people. So who is Trump going to support? One of the things that I talked about on my show was that I said, don't fall for it. Look at what Trump is doing. Trump is positioning himself to remain in power even if he isn't the president. He wants to make sure he maintains that level of influence. And so because of, when you see what he's done with the Honduras president, letting him out, pardoning him, even though the man is alleged to assist in funneling 400 tons of cocaine into the United States.
He was serving 45 years.
He was serving 45 years, absolutely. And you let him out in the same breath. You're bombing people in the Caribbean for the very thing that you said was a problem.
Well, let's talk about the bombing.
He's doing what he's doing, but in the end, what it comes down to is that you're going to have to beat him because he is going to make sure he dictates who his successor is going to be.
If he stays awake.
Anticipate he's going to be awake.
My friend, I want to talk to you about the bombing.
Uh-oh, here we go.
And some things that you recently said. You know I like you, right? Okay, so you recently accused Senator Mark Kelly, a veteran, an astronaut, of crossing the line for participating in a video reminding troops that they can refuse to follow illegal orders. Okay. Let's see some of what you said, my friend.
Sure.
You know better, Senator Kelly. You know better. How dare you do that? You could go to the House. You can put up drawer paperwork. You can try to start articles of impeachment if you think there's something illegal. I mean, damn, it ain't like y'all haven't done it before. You impeached the man twice. Where'd that get you? Got us behind back in the White House. Had you left him alone since 2020, maybe he wouldn't be back. You don't tell military men and women to ignore an order from the commander-in-chief. You don't do that.
Caffeine's a bitch, you know?
Now, let me just remind you that Pete Hegseth said in 2016, I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. Now, given the fact that the secretary himself said that, I'd love to give you the opportunity to perhaps change your position on what you said.
I'm not changing a thing.
Okay.
I didn't stutter when I said it.
You want to stay loud and wrong?
Well, you could call it loud and wrong all you want to. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine. Here's the reality of the situation. First of all, I don't give a damn what Pete Hegseth has to say because I will tell you right now, he was never qualified for the job. When you talk about DEI and eradicating that, excuse me, what was he doing hosting Fox News on the weekend and all of a sudden he's the defense secretary? Please, give me a break. I don't care what he has to say. Let me get that out the way. As it pertains to Mark Kelly, what I was talking about is military. What I did was get on the phone with family and friends who have served in the military. And I said, we're not civilians. This is not the court of law. You can be implicated for implying something if you are a former military member or you are a present military member. It wasn't what Mark Kelly said. It's the fact that he was a combat Navy pilot who served in the military who would tell folks, ignore an order when it could get them in the
He did not say
I said
ignore.
illegal. I said illegal. I'm talking about illegal. I understand that.
He said you don't have to follow an unlawful order, and that is in the military code of conduct.
And I'm saying to you, hold on.
which I'm aware of. Which I'm aware of.
But it didn't sound like you were aware of that.
Well, no. I disagree with you. It
Stephen,
sounded
can
like
I ask you a question?
I had two governors, by the way, text me to tell me I was wrong, and they agree with you.
You are wrong.
I had two senators that reached out to me and said, you weren't wrong at all.
Well, Mikey Sherrill did say that the reason they felt the need to put that out is they were constantly being approached by people in the military saying, we're being put in really uncomfortable situations.
But
that to me is a little more relatable when you're a veteran yourself.
But I'm saying let me say this real quick.
You got to do real quick. Or wait till we come back.
All I'm saying is this. If you're a member of the military, I'm looking at the soldiers as saying, don't get yourself in trouble. Let somebody else do it. Don't you do it because it ain't gonna work for you.
But you get
Sorry, that was Alyssa Slotkin, not Mikey Sherrill.
I'm sorry. Okay, so whoever it was, you can clean up when we come back because we have more with Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, so we're going to stop it right there. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And the only reason that I say that is I've never seen, not one time, any of these ladies act like this towards any Democrat. Ever. Ever. As much lies as the Democrats have ever told, not one time have these ladies sat down and pushed back like they push back on any Democrat or, any Republican or even Democrats that does not align with them 100%. Just like Stephen A. Smith, right? That was a great example here. He's a Democrat. He literally was sitting there criticizing Republicans, criticizing Donald Trump. But since he's not doing it in the way that The View wants him to do it, in the way that the Democrats want him to do it, then he basically has to get whipped into shape. And that's what this was for, right? They brought him on here to humiliate him and shame him for the way that he's thinking, right? Thinking independently, outside of the party lines, essentially. So, yeah, I thought that was absolutely fascinating. And I kind of applaud Stephen A. Smith for standing his ground, especially against this. I mean, I can't stand Sunny, this woman here. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about this video in the comment section. Leave your opinions down below. And of course, if you're brand new, consider and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.